Greetings and welcome to Zord's Planetary Space Program episode 23, where we are hurtling towards Joule, or rather more importantly, towards Leif. Yes, remember last time when we did a break in the assembly of Delta Station around Leif, because we needed to take care of the Duna business? Well, the Duna business is taken care of, and we are continuing construction of Delta Station. So here we are going to do this completely untested and very daring maneuver, in my opinion, that we're going to aero capture from interplanetary speeds to orbit, and we're going to do it in Leif's atmosphere rather than Joule. So we're coming in at, an excess of 5 kilometers per second, so this is going to be very intense. And indeed, we get immediately what is called in the business a lot of fire. And you see the atmospheric meter, we dip down quite far. But the question here is it enough fire? Because we haven't captured yet and we're past periapse. But it looks like, well, yes indeed, we have captured, and it is apparently possible to do an aero capture around Leif. Now we have, of course, the goal of docking with the station, and as you see, we get an encounter almost immediately that's actually pretty good, and that's why I'm not going to do an aero braking after this, but instead I'm going to try to go straight into this encounter. So the first thing we do is that we adjust our inclination to match that of the station, which I notice now that I'm working with it is nowhere near equatorial, but it doesn't really have to be, so we go with it. And then we need to go around out towards Apoapse, and do a little circularization-esque burn. And we're watching for pretty pictures along the way, because we need something to put as the thumbnail for this week's video. I have been trying to take screenshots and put them as thumbnails because they're not always super ugly. The downside is that, like here, you sometimes get distracted by the pretty pictures and miss your maneuver. But it wasn't a big deal. We could do the encounter this way too. So we're coming in and we're moving at 500 plus meters per second, and I realize that it's very much indeed time to brake and try to match the velocities. And yeah, even with 6 nuclear engines in this thing, this looks rather grim. I think we're gonna miss our stop, so to speak. And indeed, there it goes. Whoosh. Yeah. Well, actually, it's not that bad. When we passed it, we were moving at 200 meters per second, so we had already done most of the braking, so we were able to reverse that and get us to move towards the station slowly, and just wait one orbit and we're here. Now we need to gently and slowly, because there's no other way to move this craft, approach the station, and I cut most of that away because it was really boring. Now this is really 2 crafts. It's the lander and a small fuel tanker, and they're not necessarily designed to operate as a unit, so we're going to separate them and dock them individually. Look at the Joule rise there over the horizon. This station is probably going to have the best view of all of my space stations. So we move this thing in, and it is controllable through the probe core that is located in the supply tank. It does not have any probe core or anything in the lander module. And the tanker here doesn't have any lights, so I just cut till the first time you could actually see it, which was 10 seconds before docking. So yeah, let's warp to daylight and admire our actual space station in the Joule system. Now we're just gonna have to transfer fuels, and yeah, that's a good station. Meanwhile, at Duna, or rather a couple of weeks later at Duna, or maybe it's just 1 week, yeah, one or 2, our heroes Bill, Jab, and Bob are ready to go to Jewel and make use of the station that has now been constructed for them. It's not completely complete, but it's pretty much there. So we do our escape bird from Duna, and as you see, this is gonna take quite a while. So I'm just gonna cut it till we are here. We are almost done. We're just gonna have to do some corrections, and we were on an inclined orbit around Duna, so we're gonna end up in an inclined orbit around the sun. I did some correction for that during the initial burn, but this is the corrected version. But this is still too inclined, as we are getting into a polar orbit around Jewel. But for now we're escaping, and look at the cinematic shot. Yes, maybe this is gonna be the thumbnail. I don't know. We'll see. You'll see, or you will already know because you clicked on the video. Hopefully. Yeah, and that was the alarm for the launch window. So we were not too far off that one. And now we are in solar orbit. So let's yeah, this is the inclination we're dealing with. We should just correct this from periapps. We don't have any nodes where we are in counter, or we have ascending and descending nodes, which is strange, but I suppose that can happen if you have half an orbit. Yeah, so we are going to do this correction burn, and rather than just cut all of it, I'm just gonna fast this forward even more. So this is gonna be twice as fast as the usual 4 times. I'm gonna do it at 8 times, so you don't have to sit here all day, and I don't have to record more footage. Yeah, so that's quite good. I'm just gonna do a little adjustment so that we have a periapps. And now the game's not quite convinced I actually have an encounter, but yeah, we can still plan the encounter in the Kerbal Alarm Clock. And now, something we haven't seen for a while, the guys going out to Dres have just entered Dres space, so to speak. There we are. And now we're gonna have to do our capture burn. And we're moving at 2000 meters per second, which is slow for coming in from interplanetary. But we have to remove most of that to get into a stable orbit, or a circular low orbit, because turns out this little dwarf planet has a very low gravity. Who could have known? Now Dres is the only place I have yet to be to. Every other planet I have been to or landed on, legitimately or otherwise, previously. But Dres I've only done flyby. So this is going to be exciting for both of us. Me and my viewer. And yeah, the illegitimate visit I have made is to Elo. We're going to fix that. So this is played back at 16 times time acceleration, because this burn was enormous. And right now the players have the media player I'm using is having problem coping with the very high frame rate, or not frame rate, playback rate. So we're gonna have to see how this comes out. And equally, hopefully, I'm hoping we're going to actually make this capture. Yeah, it looks like the orbit is curving as it should do, or the projected path. So we should have an orbit any second now. And yes, orbit around Dres. So I'm going to do two circularization burns. First we're going to do one right now and bring the periapps down to a good round number, and then we're gonna wait till periapps and circularize completely from there. And the next step is of course landing. And wait. So did you see that? I'm just gonna initiate time acceleration here. Yeah. My plugin here, the Kerbal Alarm Clock, the outdated version, apparently doesn't have proper orbital transfer information for Dres. So that's exciting. So we're doing this final burn, and this is gonna be the last thing we do for this episode. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you next time when we land here. Bye!